Let's talk to Harry Phibbs, local government editor at Conservative Home. Harry, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Have you spotted a scintilla of light in the first 2 days of 2025 that should put a smile on our face yet, Harry?
It's going to be a fantastic year for every country apart from us, I think. I think the United States will do well with the Trump administration, and we'll see Conservatives in Canada and Germany. We've got elections where they're likely to throw out the woke socialists and have much more sensible free market policies and ditch some of the net zero nonsense. And we'll see lots of countries doing well. The only slight problem is that we happen to live in Britain, and we're a bit more pessimistic.
Well, it does feel a bit like that when you look at, and I was doing my best, and you can really go down a rabbit hole on this stuff, can't you, with the net zero thing. I was trying to see what other countries are doing in comparison to us. And other similar kind of economies in comparison to us. And obviously they're all, purporting to do their bit. But it seems that, our lot have got a PhD in evangelism when it comes to this one, Harry. I'm looking at Ed Miliband's department, crammed full of sizzling Corbynites as advisors, as you will know. That they seem to be going to places that, even the most left-wing countries on the planet aren't even considering.
Yes, there's a very good film by a documentary maker called Martin Durkin called Climate the Movie that's on YouTube, and I showed that to my children, and I recommend people to show it to if they've got teenage children who are told the world's coming to an end and all this climate alarmism, and it's a very healthy antidote to that. But really, even if you do swallow the alarmism, what's going on the rest of the world just abandoning the whole thing makes it obviously futile for Ed Miliband to keep pursuing it. So I just don't know how long that will carry on with the costs just getting completely out of control. It's not something that's realistic. So it's a question of how much harm he's going to do to the economy in trying to pursue something that's futile.
Yeah. One other area, of course, that Western governments, including our own, are supposed to always have their eye on, Harry, is terrorism. We've had, sadly, our fair share. It's come in many forms over the years, but over the previous 2 decades, we know that extreme politicized political Islamism, has been really at the forefront. We can talk London Bridge, Westminster, Manchester, 7/7. And that's just here, and the ones that I can recall off the top of my head. The United States similarly have had those sort of attacks, and the most recent was just a day ago. 15 dead, 35 injured, Islamic State flag waving from the back of the truck as this man attempted to kill as many people as he possibly could. Have you ever heard, as a journalist, has there ever been a statement from a politician that has made you think, right, we're on to this? Because the question we're throwing out today is, how do we respond to these kind of things? There's one sort of obvious answer, and that is that we can't. We can't fight an ideology. We can't fight an idea. So part and parcel of living in a Western democracy is that this kind of thing sadly will happen. Or is there another way? Have you ever heard that voice in Westminster tell it like it is, who should be listened to, Harry?
Well, we can't guarantee, even if we put ideology to one side, you get individual maniacs, don't you? Somebody who's a drug addict or mentally ill or for whatever reason. So of course, and you can try banning guns, but then you can kill people with a car, or you can ban machetes, but you can stab someone with a kitchen. So that is true, but it's also true that we shouldn't then just say, oh, we can't do anything about it and give up. Obviously, we should look at what we can do. And you talked about fighting an idea, I mean, you can actually have a battle of ideas, and one thing is to assert very clearly that some ideas are superior to others. And if you've got an evil totalitarian ideology, whether it was communism during the Cold War, or we had people wanting appeasement of the Nazis in the 1930s, now that big threat is Islamic fundamentalism, jihadism, Islamism, whatever you want to call it, and it is not morally equal to the ideas of freedom and democracy and the rule of law and property rights. And we should be far more assertive in challenging the ideas, and that involves things in schools and universities and the media. And the trouble with the woke stuff is that they want these ideas to go unchallenged and present them as equally valid, and that does have consequences. That indirectly, then some people will be indoctrinated by them and end up as fanatics with the terrible consequences that we've seen.
And you do wonder, again, you know, look, people will always talk about immigration being a factor. They'll talk about the lack of vision when it comes to our security services doing anything about the 60-odd thousand people they have under scrutiny at one point or another. But as you rightly say, Harry, you know, a lone nut job could not be on any of those lists. They're probably not even an immigrant. They're, you know, somebody who's sitting in their bed, sitting in their underpants, reading dangerous literature, getting fired up. Their life is, you know, as far as they're concerned, a fairly vacuous affair, and this is their way of earning their 15 minutes almost.
Yes, a lot of these terror threats are thwarted, aren't they? And then in the planning stages, and we don't always hear about it, but the security services do obviously work with great skill and professionalism, and of course we also see it as in New Orleans that the bravery and the split-second decision in taking out the terrorists to minimise the loss of life. Of course, part of it is to be completely supportive of the police and the security, and they don't always get the backup that they deserve.
Let's move to this story. Police abandoning 4 unsolved crimes every minute last year. A total of 2,117,000 cases. Labour have accused the Tories of gutting neighbourhood policing, citing a significant reduction in officers. Yvette Cooper has highlighted, you know, unsolved burglaries as one obvious answer. National Police Chiefs Council stating resource constraints are impacting crime resolution. I wonder whether this is about more than just extra officers, Harry. I mean, there are more officers than there were after the Tories had a bit of a cull of officers. But I don't sense this story is going to get better anytime soon.
No, I think it's a mistake to see it as having more police officers. Obviously, it's good to have more police officers. But I mean, one thing, for example, was the Tories were criticised for cutting the police community support officers. Now, the PCSOs, they don't have power to arrest people, which must be very frustrating for them. I think, you know, probably many of them would be perfectly capable of becoming warranted police officers and doing a very good job. But at the moment, that role is ineffective because they're not given the power they need. We also, of course, have a lot of police officers being told, look, don't arrest anyone because it'll be absolute pain in the neck, because you'll have then days filling in forms and dealing with the bureaucracy. You know, so trying to avoid at all costs actually arresting anyone because it's such a nuisance. So the signals that the police are given are completely wrong. So I mean, yes, fine, let's have some more police officers, but we need to go back to this old-fashioned idea that their job is to fight crime and to get criminals put behind bars. And until we get the right mentality of what policing is for, then it won't be effective. Yeah,
good point. And finally, Sadiq Khan got himself a knighthood in the New Year's honours list, almost like he knows somebody in high places, Harrier, but he's apparently revealed his kids think he's sold out by accepting it. I don't know how political his children are in that respect, but, you know, most kids would be quite happy that Daddy got a knighthood, but not his. Of course, it's very hard as well to ascertain precisely what he did to get it, other than doing the job that he's paid for, and many would argue are not particularly well. Services to what? Knife crime? ULEZ cameras? What is it?
I think there is a criticism of the honour system more generally, particularly for the politicians, that it sort of goes out with the rations. And if you have a particular job, if you're a minister or an ambassador or the head of the senior civil service, that you get it. You get it sort of regardless of any performance. But I think that with Sadiq Khan, it's particularly offensive that that he's done such an appalling job with his woke ideology and what we were just discussing about the police being constrained from doing their job, and the objections to stop and search has meant that there's been a lot more knife crime, and he says he's very woke and all the rest of it, but of course the biggest victims of it are black teenage boys. If you get gangs of them, then it's the other black teenage boys who are the biggest victims. So it's absolutely he's had an appalling record, and for that failure to be rewarded is a disgrace. But also, of course, for a socialist who's always going on about denigrating the British Empire and British history and so on, of course, it's huge hypocrisy for him to accept the honour. I'm not too surprised that his children or nephews and nieces, given this general woke message, then suddenly find him accepting a knighthood and think, what on earth's going on? Yeah, fair point. To finish on, Harry, thank you very much as ever. Harry Phibbs, local government editor at Conservative Home.